I don't think I've ever had any experience of anybody actually being able to help through most of my life. You're on your own. It's a lonely place, and the problem with being depressed and suicide is there's nobody can inspire you into motivation. It's hard. I have managed it. My attempt at suicide finished up with the police pulling me out of a ditch because I reversed the car back to get a good run to drive off a cliff head, and back wheels got stuck in the ditch. It's funny now, but at the time I just wanted to go. Looking back now, I'm glad I didn't, purely because of the people, my family, that would suffer. People need to talk and understand it's anybody, everybody, male or female, that will suffer with this. And unless there is talk and you can support each other, then you're on your own, you're in a bad place.
My first touch with suicide, I guess, would be when I was about 16 and I was stood on the edge of about a 200-foot cliff, and I remember my thoughts were, I don't want to be here anymore, and I didn't feel strong enough, even at 16, to actually feel that I could survive, but I was still a child. I unfortunately developed a very bad drink problem when I was in college, and I sampled all sorts of drugs. Basically, I was in denial. I was still drinking heavily, and I found myself one night up at the top of the car park, and I just remember being, this is enough, I've had enough. I don't want to live like this anymore. You're at the lowest place you can be. You're at the bottom of the pile. You feel that you're not worth existing, and the only thing that's actually stopped me, I think, from killing myself is, I say my children, but it's not. It's fear. To this day, I still can't put my finger on why people commit suicide, although I've had several experiences where I've been so close. And I've been told that I'm on a suicidal path because I still drink, and I've got quite a lot of liver damage, and I call alcoholism a coward suicide. You can hear advice from anywhere, but it's self-belief. And if you can find a tiny bit of self-belief somewhere in yourself, then I believe that you can pull yourself out of it. And I'm sat here today as living proof.
Peer support, it's an extremely good way for people to work together. It's understanding that somebody's been through something similar to yourself. You don't have to talk about what's happened, it's just an understanding. And also realising that somebody else has been through that problem, situation, whatever that might be. They are actually moving on, and even though they have their blips, they still come up to the surface and start moving again. You are not alone. It does feel like that. A lot of the time it does. Have I contemplated suicide? Yes, many times. And the thing that keeps me going, firstly, is my children, but secondly, it's the other guys around me, knowing that they've gone through it, they've done the same sort of things, and they're still moving forward. And it'd be letting them down. As a group of men, we don't talk, but as a group together, you understand. We do have feelings. We can't constantly block everything out, because once that little crack appears and you feed into it and grip into it constantly, that crack grows and grows and grows. And if you don't talk to somebody, it gets to a point where you think you are the only one, and I think that's where the suicide comes in. I've learned to do a bit of carving, and I found that focused my mind on things, and then realised that actually a lot of guys like to be out in the open doing things. Those that can't, well, let's look at woodworking, let's look at art, look at crafts, something that can focus their mind. Time is the thing that's needed, and men will eventually open up to each other.
Nobody here knows, but I've had issues with depression myself. I have thought about suicide, but not in any meaningful way, a passing thought. So I've got awareness of it, but I've never been of the mindset to do anything, because I've got friends and family that I care about. a lot of social pressures, and blokes aren't very good at sharing, so for some people it's an easier way out. People can get into more financial debt, there's more alcohol, there's computers, there's drugs, there's lots of reasons, but when you're in a very low mood, it seems like a viable option. I've had issues with temper, which have cost me my marriage, and I've not lost my temper once since I've been coming here. Exercise generally, whether it's boxing or any other sport, gives you that buzz, adrenaline, makes you feel good. You know, you've got to be brave to turn up to somewhere and do it, but it's worthwhile and you feel better for it, even when it hurts.
I got into suicide prevention work and men's mental health about a year ago when I founded the Lions Barber Collective. As somebody who's lost a friend from suicide just over 2 years ago now, I didn't know about any suicide organisations or charities, so I thought if I don't know about any and I've experienced it, then there's got to be loads of people out there that don't know. Doing lots of research, I found out that it's a huge problem, and especially locally. I think it's important for men to share with one another, and I think the biggest issue is that men perceive it to be weak to share with one another, and it's that shame, and they don't want to be seen to sort of fall off their big white horse and actually initiate a conversation with somebody about their emotions or feelings, because they're maybe afraid of what the other person is going to say or react. Whereas I think that is something that is internal. I think most people are actually quite welcoming. Personally, I think locally we need to just keep raising awareness that it's okay to talk to one another and providing places where it is okay. The importance of being in the barber chair is there's a huge level of trust between the barber and the client, who are allowed to use very sharp objects, use razors, we cut their hair, we decide how they look for the next 2 to 6 weeks, so that we're inside their intimate personal space by touching their head. There's not many situations where a man touches another man's head if they're not related. So breaking down a lot of barriers already by entering personal space, the intimacy of a barber shop and that level of trust there allows that person to feel safe and therefore open up.
I mean, I can't say I haven't thought about it at times, but I suppose it's when you look at it, you've got to ask yourself how much are you loved, and if you're loved, would you want that love to be taken away from the people who love you? If you kill yourself, there's going to be a lot of people, who's heartbroken. It's just trying to get that across to other people, I suppose.
Some people haven't got the support that they need, have they? They haven't got the family. Some people, I've seen people on streets and they're on their own.
Yeah.
I think they just need somebody to talk to, basically, don't they? Yeah. If you can talk to someone, it can alleviate a lot of problems, can't it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Can lift it off, can't you?
Yeah.
Make you feel a bit better about yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes people have got no self-esteem either, have they?
No. I think people just want a steady job, a nice little income, and a bit of pocket money at the end of the week. And I think most people are just struggling to find that.
When I was young, pubs opened at a certain time and closed at a certain time. Nowadays, I think drink can be a lot of problems with it because they're open from early hours in the morning till late at night. You can get a drink any time of day, and if somebody's got a bit of a problem, and they get drunk, and then that's when they start getting morbid and they start thinking bad about themselves, and then that's when things happen, isn't it?
It's about finding motivation as well, isn't it?
Yeah, give them motivation.
There's not enough skills, is there?
No,
being taught to people. I mean, it's therapy for me. I mean, I might have gone the other way if I hadn't chose woodwork myself. People come in, they see what we do, they think, oh, you're building a shed, oh, you're building a beach hut. Wow, that's nice. I wish I knew how to build a beach hut. Well, come and learn. We'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't understand depression at first. I've always worked, and I was a family person, and I worked on the motorway and I damaged my legs. I was a tree surgeon, and with not being able to do my job, I had to leave the job, and I didn't realise I was being depressed at first. I was just stuck at home, getting under everyone's feet, not knowing what to do. I've always provided, and I found it hard, not understanding what was going on in me, but also avoiding the doctor. I didn't find out later until a couple of years ago that I have a lot of fear that I didn't realise I had, and I picked up a drug habit. There's a lot of confusion in your head when you're out of your role of what you're supposed to be there for. I'm a provider, I'm a father, I'm there to protect, I'm there to make sure nothing happens that's out of order, and you're not there, you're lost. This here, I'm in a community. I can understand the need for company. We're not made to isolate. Isolate, it intensifies the problem, because your head turns inside, you end up talking to yourself and you make no sense because there's no sensible answer coming back. You've got to learn to trust that what a person is telling you is not going to harm you. So there is a message getting through, and this community thing makes it easier because there's no one there to take the mickey, and it's a good thing.
What we've